What's happening, everybody, and welcome to this special Syracuse basketball postgame NCAA Tournament edition presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for SU Athletics. Brent Axe with you here as the Orange take down Arizona in Storrs, Connecticut. 74-69 is the final score of this game, and it sets up a showdown in Storrs. The number 3 seed UConn, the number 6 seed Syracuse, as the Orange will look to go to the Sweet 16 for just the second time in program history, and they'll have to get over a program that certainly has not been as dominant in recent years. You know, Iowa and South Carolina and LSU and some other programs in women's college basketball have kind of leapfrogged UConn, but it's still a major hurdle to overcome. Paige Beckers and company, and that's what Syracuse will have to do on Monday. And they earn the right to take on the Huskies by a pretty impressive performance in the fourth quarter by Dyaisha Fair. And stop me if you've heard that one before. We have seen it time and time and time again from Dyaisha Fair. She scores 13 straight points in the fourth quarter of this game, a game that Arizona led by 5 with about 5 minutes to go, led by as much as when there was about 3.5 minutes to go in this game. But Fair just would not be stopped. She got to the three-point line. She hit from the free throw line. She had jumpers in the paint. And it is old hat to see Dyaisha Fair do it, but still pretty special every time she does. In no bigger stage to come out and do it than in the NCAA tournament. She finishes with 32 points on the night, and just what a special player. I mean, she is on the all-time NCAA tournament scoring list behind Caitlin Clark, who, of course, is just a phenomenon for Iowa, right? And 3 WNBA All-Stars. That's the company she keeps. And you need great guard play to win in the NCAA tournament. If that's the men's tournament, the women's tournament, and Fair was just a prime example of that. It was incredible to see her take over after a first half where, you know, frankly, you need to see her shoot a little bit more. And that's always a trick, right? Because Syracuse leans so hard on Dyaisha Fair to carry the way, and teams are going to come after her. Arizona plays a pressure defense. They certainly were going to try and take Dyaisha out of the game. And here's the interesting thing, too. In this game, right at the end of the third quarter, Dyaisha goes up for kind of a drive at the basket. She hits the deck pretty hard. She had to be carried off the court. She couldn't put pressure on either one of her legs. They carried her into the locker room. She comes back shortly afterwards on the bench, ready to go, gives Coach Jack the signal that she can play, she can get in there, and goes and drops 13 straight points in the fourth quarter, 32 points overall. She actually took another fall at the end of the game and was kind of hobbling around a little bit. So we'll have to keep our eye on that and see what the situation is Monday as we speak. I'm not sure what time the game is going to be on Monday. We'll get the game times out there a little later this evening when they reset the schedule on the NCAA women's tournament front. But to think that she had to be carried off the court, literally, because she could not put pressure on either leg, and then goes out there and does that. That's pretty incredible. Now, Syracuse had to overcome a little bit of an issue, and if you know Uncle Brent and you listen to this podcast, free throws matter. And Syracuse went 12 of 23 at the free throw line. That's 52%. Now, Fair hit some down the stretch, but up until that point, Syracuse was 8 of 19 at the free throw line. They missed 11. So they got away with it there. The lead did not change hands much. It only changed, I want to say, 3 times. The game was tied 6 times. The lead changed only 3 times because Arizona had the lead for most of the way. They got out early, and they would hold kind of a 5, 4, 6-point lead. Syracuse would chip away, but Arizona would keep scoring. Skylar Jones had a terrific game for Arizona. She had 24 points, made even more impressive by the fact that she didn't even hit a three-pointer in this game. Williams with 14 and Pueo at 14 as well for Arizona. Elsewhere for Syracuse, Alyssa Latham had 10 points. Perkins had 8 points. On the rebounding front, Georgia Woolley, who really struggled offensively in this game for Syracuse. She did hit a big three-pointer in the second half, but she had just 8 points in this game, but 7 rebounds, right? Wood had 8 rebounds for Syracuse to go with her 5 points. The big thing coming in, Arizona's pressure defense, right? They average 20 forced turnovers per game, and Syracuse did turn the ball over 17 times, but they only turned the ball over, I think, 4 or 5 times. I think it was 4 in the second half. Yeah, because they had 13 turnovers in the first half of this game, so they put the ball under control, moved the ball better, and avoided that Arizona defense. It was the Wildcats who end up turning the ball over 21 times. Syracuse got 26 points off those turnovers, so they kind of fought fire with fire in that case, came through defensively. Syracuse out-rebounded Arizona 37-32, particularly on the offensive rebound. Syracuse needed those putbacks. They needed those opportunities. We mentioned they weren't scoring at the free throw line, so they needed those second chance points in which they beat Arizona by a mark of 13-8. The offensive rebounds 17-9. Arizona had 15 steals in this game, but again, Syracuse gave them a dose of their own medicine with 12. So that was interesting to hear. Arizona is a team that was down to 8 players. They really only play 7. Just a couple of weeks ago, their leading scorer got dismissed from the team, but they kind of found their way. They gave some really good teams down the stretch a lot of pressure. I think they only lost to USC by 1, and they came in hot into the tournament. They won the other night in the first 4, and sometimes these teams, they catch fire, and they come in with momentum. And by the way, that game was in Storrs. It's not like it was in Dayton like they do in the men's tournament, and then they had to fly to Storrs and get into that game. So they were a dangerous team, and that defense did affect Syracuse for a while, but then Dyaisha Fair did Dyaisha Fair things. I mean, that's what this one really comes down to. A couple of things that were said in postgame. Let me pull that up for you here. We'll start with Coach Jack, who said, "This is a team that makes me believe it's never over until the final buzzer sounds. I love the resilience of these young ladies." Coach Jack adding this, "You all had the chance to witness a great women's basketball game. My hope is you honor the work ethic we all have and how hard we play. Arizona is an incredible team," adding they left it on the line. Now, here's a couple from Dyaisha who said, "We've been down before. When you have experience, you know what it takes to win." On her injury, by the way, she's talking up, so they were working on her left leg, and she said, "I twisted it, and then I landed on it at the end of the third quarter. It's not serious. I'm good." So, yeah, that's Dr. Fair with the assessment there. We'll see what the trainers say once the adrenaline wears off and everything. But she came back in. It had an incredible fourth quarter. Basically playing on one leg, but seems to be okay here. But sometimes momentum wears off. Something can swell. You got to keep an eye on it. So certainly something to monitor going into this huge matchup on Monday against UConn. From Kennedy Perkins, who was also at the podium for Syracuse, saying, "During halftime, we got a talk from Coach. Came out more aggressive in the first half. We didn't really play our game. In the second half, though, we did." And Perkins adding on the player of the day, the player of the year for Syracuse, "We know when Dyaisha's cooking that we let her go. When she gets going, who can stop her?" Well, UConn will have that task now. And to see, this is, I'll tell you what, guys, it's been interesting. Now, the NCAA men's tournament, certainly, we all have our brackets, and there's a lot of attention there. And the upsets, I was pretty happy that I had Grand Canyon, Yale, and James Madison, who, by the way, showed some interest in Justin Taylor on the SU men's basketball front in the transfer portal. So we all love our brackets, and we're all into that. But the stars, the names, the matchups, the women's tournament is just a really intriguing tournament this year. They've been picking up momentum the past few years. Look at last year with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and that Iowa LSU game, and we'll see what this year brings. Today, Caitlin Clark, 27 points as Iowa cruised past Holy Cross, 91-65. But to know that you're going to get a matchup between Paige Beckers and Dyaisha Fair on Monday, that's worth price of admission alone. So UConn got by Jackson State today, a 3-14 matchup. 86-64 was the final there. Paige Beckers had 28 points in that game to lead UConn. Shade had 26 points in the backcourt. Edwards comes back in the paint. See, this is going to be key for Syracuse. Arizona early in the game had a lot of success in the paint, and Syracuse, Verajao was back for the Orange. She missed the ACC tournament, and Syracuse only played one game in the ACC tournament. They lost to Florida State and got eliminated early. Verajao was back, but she was out with an illness, and today, Varejao just had 2 points and a rebound. So they're going to need a much better game from Varejao and from overall inside play because UConn got Edwards back. She had 20 points in this game. She broke her nose a couple of weeks ago. She's wearing one of those clear masks on her face, and that is just a huge addition for UConn to get her back on the court. So, look, UConn's UConn. Beckers is one of the best players in the country. To watch her go toe-to-toe with Fair is going to be something. I mentioned how key the inside play is going to be. And, yeah, UConn is not on the upper echelon this year, but they still have one of the best coaches in the country, and they know what to do this time of the year. They were a 30-5 team. They were 14-1 at home this year. They're on their home court. So the odds in some ways are stacked against Syracuse. It's never easy to win in the tournament. It's never easy to advance in the tournament. But you've got an all-world player in Dyaisha Fair. You're going to need a better game from Georgia Woolley. From the outside in particular, I think Syracuse is going to have to shoot better from the three-point line in order to beat UConn. Today, Syracuse was just 6 of 21 from three-point range. You're going to have to be sharper than that against UConn. You're going to have to find ways to score inside against UConn, and I think it'd just be a great, fun, back-and-forth game to watch between these two. And think of the statement, right? UConn is not what they used to be, if you will, but that's still a major program with a major brand. And if Syracuse can beat them to advance to the Sweet 16, which is it in Syracuse's region, they're in the Portland region. So it'll only get harder for the Orange. So think about this. You would have to beat one of the best programs in the history of the sport. Paige Becker is one of the best players in the sport, as Dyaisha Fair is as well. Let's not kid ourselves here. A matchup between Coach Jack and Gino Auriemma, which, by the way, we should note this. Before the season, Syracuse scrimmaged UConn. And remember, this was a time Coach Jack was going through a health scare. She had to step aside a little bit. She had a tumor removed, and she was recovering from that. And, just that story alone and how she returned to the court and led this team to the NCAA tournament and the progression that Syracuse basketball has made. So they got back to the tournament. They win a game, right? That is a true sign of progress, more wins. Everything is a step forward for Syracuse basketball. But think how immense this would be if they can knock off UConn. And then you get a week where the Sweet 16 settles in. I mentioned all the extra added attention on the NCAA women's tournament. Look, Clark's going to get a lot of attention. Kim Mulkey, the coach at LSU, went on a rant today about an article the Washington Post is writing about her. Apparently, she always gets a lot of attention. I mentioned Angel Reese, South Carolina's going for trying to go undefeated this year, featuring former Syracuse player Camila Cardoso, by the way. If Syracuse knocks off UConn, they're going to elbow their way into that conversation and say, you got to talk about us too. You got to talk about the ACC Coach of the Year and Coach Jack. You got to talk about Dyaisha Fair, as I mentioned, who is on the all-time NCAA scoring list with Clark and 3 WNBA All-Stars. The extra shine that's on the tournament, you get a week to set that up whenever Syracuse would play next, and whoever they would play, we'd have to see what the matchup would be. That's in Portland. The thing that stinks there is if Syracuse had done a little bit better at the end of the regular season. Remember, they lost 3 of their last 4, including that ACC tournament matchup. They could have been at home as a top 4 seed. There's a regional in Albany as well. So Syracuse missed out on that, unfortunately. They're going to get shipped out to Portland if they beat UConn. One way or the other, though, if they can end up being a Sweet 16 team with a win over UConn, they'd be a Sweet 16 team by beating anybody. That is a major step forward for the program itself. But if you can do it by beating UConn, that it almost doesn't matter what you do the rest of the way. You're playing, that it is gravy. You're playing with house money the rest of the way there. So what a matchup. Juicy Monday matchup again as we speak. I'm not sure what time that game's going to be. We'll see when the game times come out going forward for the NCAA women's tournament. But you got the Orange and the Huskies on Monday. We'll do another post-game show, by the way, programming note after that one. So certainly looking forward to seeing that and if Syracuse can take a major step forward as a program. You guys were amped up about this one and a chance to tell you about becoming a Syracuse Sports Insider by texting the word orange to 315-847-3895. So today, Emily Leiker and I were at Syracuse football spring practice, which, can I tell you, it was like Woodstock. I've never seen a Syracuse football practice that crowded. There was about 40 to 50 recruits there, their families, local coaches, other coaching staffs. I mean, it is a party at Syracuse football spring practices these days. So I sent you some videos from that, some quotes from the post-game afterwards, the post-practice, if you will, with defensive coordinator Elijah Robinson. We talked to Justin Barron, Marlo Wax. Who else did we talk to today? Deuce Chestnut in his return to Syracuse. So our Syracuse Sports Insiders, they get instant reaction from spring practice, the quotes, exclusive access, videos, and photos from spring practice. You can text me anytime. Just getting plenty of texts from you, as we're going to show here momentarily during this game. Our lacrosse coverage ramping up. Syracuse beat Hobart today, by the way. On the men's side, the women's team beat Virginia Tech 15-14 in a tight game. So all around a nice little Saturday for Syracuse athletics. Maybe Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. We'll see. But being a Syracuse Sports Insider means you get direct access to me. You can send your questions, your comments, your opinions during games, what you want us to ask the coaches at spring practice, what you want us to ask the coaches that we talk to and cover all the time, and the athletes that we talk to and cover all the time. Our Syracuse Sports Insider NCAA Tournament Bracket Challenges is ongoing. Uncle Brent having a pretty good showing so far, though I think it's going to drop off as we go. But I picked those upsets. It's all part of the great back and forth and being a Syracuse Sports Insider. We hope you can join us today. And things have been ramping up with the start of spring football and with everything else going on out there in Syracuse sports land. So just text the word orange to 315-847-3895. It's free for 2 weeks. Try it out. See if you like it. Like getting texts from me and being able to text me directly with all your SU sports thoughts and questions. And then it's just $3.99 a month after that. And Michael S. leads us off today in caps. I left it in caps because he had to make the statement. Dyaisha Fair is the truth. Sandra saying Fair took another fall with seconds left in the game. Slow to get up. Tough girl. That's for sure. A lot of these are going to be about Dyaisha, as you can imagine. Matt S. says that fourth quarter, all heart. Rest up, ladies, and take down UConn. Gonzo jumps in to say she's a special player and a future pro for certain. Go Orange. You know what's interesting about Dyaisha Fair's WNBA future? She's 5'5". The fact that she can excel at the college game the way that she has, but to go into the pros and do that is going to be fascinating to watch. I think she can do it. I think she can hold her own. She's got we talked to Kelly Gramlich here on Syracuse Sports a couple of weeks ago, who's a terrific college basketball analyst for the ACC Network and ESPN, and she kind of went over the mechanics. Kelly is a former player at Clemson and a friend of the show. Really love the work that Kelly does, and she did a really good breakdown of Fair's game. She's got that high arcing shot that can get over anybody who tries to guard her. She did it in the fourth quarter of this game. She's got a really nifty kind of step back three she can do. She's athletic. She can get in the paint. 5'5", can she make it work at the WNBA? Yeah, she can, because she just finds ways to score one way or the other. So per that comment, Gonzo, I agree with you. It's going to be fascinating to see how she does it, but who's going to doubt that she can do it at this point, right? Kate jumps in to say, great win by the Orange women. Lacey says, I didn't see the win coming the way the first half of the game went, but man, this team is persistent, and it pays off. I'm glad they got the W. Well-deserved. A great day for SU Athletics. Red jumps in to say she's as clutch as it gets, and that's the thing. This was far from the first time that Dyaisha Fair has done this. She's done it all year long. Look, you can do well in the first three quarters of the game, too. And Coach Jack was saying a little bit at the media session yesterday about how much they lean on Dyaisha Fair. And look, you live and die with your best players. That's what wins you tournament games. Think of some of the greats in the history of both men's and women's basketball that have pointed to their back and said, let's go, right? Danny Manning with Kansas in 1988. Think of UConn and the run they went on a couple years ago. And, boy, I had the name on the tip of my tongue, and now I'm forgetting. How can I forget after that incredible run that they had there? But certain players that take, or think of when John Wallace took over for Syracuse in 1996 with a little help from Jason Cipolla and the supporting cast there, Carmelo Anthony, Jerry McNamara, just these stars that stand out. You need them. You need great guard play, you need stars, and you need clutch players to win in March. And Dyaisha Fair, it has been building towards this. Since Coach Jack came to Syracuse, brought Dyaisha and a couple other players with her from Buffalo, Georgia Woolley included, but it's always been about Fair. It's been such a special season for her. No matter what she does the rest of the way, she has earned every accolade you can think of. They're going to retire her number someday, as they well should, and as we mentioned, a pro career awaits her, but think of the legacy, the all-time legacy she will earn and just add to if they beat UConn on Monday. And then we'll see how far they go from there. What a performance. What a game for Syracuse. As noted by Lacey in the comments there, we played the comment there earlier that they didn't really look like themselves in the first half, much better in the second half. Dyaisha's done this all year. Sometimes she's got to make an adjustment. And UConn, you can bet they're going to do the same thing. They're going to come after her. They're going to make her work. They're going to make her work to get open and get quality looks. Gino Auriemma is going to get in her face. Every team tries. Most fail to slow down Dyaisha Fair. She just had 32 points in an NCAA tournament game. I think UConn is a better team than Arizona, but the way Arizona plays defense, it did throw Syracuse off their game for a while, but things just settled down. The clutch gene kicks in, and we watched a pretty special player do a pretty special thing here in the NCAA tournament. And she's going to need it again on Monday when the Orange take on UConn. So we'll be back with another live Syracuse basketball postgame show. Again, I'm not sure what time that game is as we speak, so keep an eye on that over the weekend here. I'll send it to our Syracuse Sports Insiders, which you can join by texting the word orange to 315-847-3895. Keep an eye out there for game times, and we will be back on Monday night after the Orange and the Huskies. Syracuse and UConn. Jack Auriemma, Fair Beckers, right? Here we go. That's why it's been building towards this, a juicy matchup. And, Gino Auriemma in that scrimmage earlier in the year called Syracuse a pretty special team. Well, will a special win emerge in the NCAA tournament over the most historically successful women's basketball program in history? And what a mark that would be for Syracuse. But we shall see what happens on Monday night. Thanks for hanging with us here on the special edition of Syracuse Basketball Postgame presented by Krause Health. Please subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. So if you miss the live shows, you can listen to them on demand when you want. Also a good idea to hit that thumbs up button on Syracuse Orange Sports on syracuse.com on YouTube, so you get notifications of when the show goes live and when a new podcast goes up as well, including Syracuse Sports, which we've been cranking away. Emily and I will be doing a couple Syracuse spring football podcasts next week, a couple other things we got lined up for you on the podcast front, so we hope you can subscribe and be a part of Syracuse Sports as well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Hope your brackets are holding up, and we will meet again Monday night after the Orange take on UConn. This has been Syracuse Basketball Postgame presented by Krause Health. We'll talk to you next time, guys.